Hello everyone, and thanks for taking the time to review the Los Gatos real estate market analysis for July 2008. My name is Robert Whitelaw, and I'm a licensed real estate broker in the state of California, a member of the National Association of Realtors, and a certified E-Pro. And this presentation is sponsored by Whitelaw & Sons Real Estate Services, providing real estate services to all of Silicon Valley. Please visit us at www.wandsons.com. We're a full-service real estate brokerage firm focused on what matters most to clients. Now let's go ahead and jump right into the numbers, the supply and demand numbers for July of 2008 for Los Gatos. We're going to look first at the inventory numbers. We can see we're seeing a pretty dramatic increase. Inventory is actually up 62.9% for the month of July in 2008 when compared to the same month last year. So keep in mind, these are just the month of July numbers going back to 1999. So there's no variation for seasonal influences or anything like that. Now that's 61 more homes on the market in Los Gatos than there were last year. That's a pretty substantial increase. And that gives us a grand total of 158 homes currently on the market in the month of July in Los Gatos. Now, next let's take a look at the total number of homes listed in the month of July. See a big increase this month. A lot of folks entered the market in July. Now remember, this is just months of July. So even for a July, when lots of folks do tend to enter into the market to sell their homes, this is still a very big number. Not as big as we saw in 2004, but second only to that year. That was an increase of 78.9% from last year. So almost an 80% increase from last year. 30 more homes were listed in the month of July this year than back in 2007. That gives us a total of 68 homes that were added, new homes listed in the month of July. Now, next let's look at the number of homes that sold. We're seeing some more bad news this month. Now, last month we actually did all right, but in May we saw some down numbers. So we're seeing some mixed results here, but sales are actually down. And they're down to the tune of 16.1%. Now, that's 5 fewer homes sold this year than last year, for a total of 26 homes sold. Now, of course, as I always like to do, I like to sort of take a general assessment of the health of the market by going with the ratio. And by the ratio, I mean the total inventory divided by the number of homes sold. And that number basically tells you how many months worth of inventory we have on hand if all statistics were to freeze right now. So if the inventory were to freeze right now and the number of homes sold were to stay the same in coming months, it would take us 6.1 months to sell off everything we have. To put it another way, for every home that sells in Los Gatos, there's about 6 homes on the market trying to get sold. Now, what's particularly shocking about this number is that's up quite a bit from last month. Last month it was at 4.6. That's right about the point where I start looking a little bit more closely at the market and think things are heading downhill a little bit. I usually don't really start to worry until we hit 5. But last month it was 4.6. This month, 6.1. And that's a big jump. So it's not something we would have expected, I think, given the history of the Los Gatos market. We may just be seeing that the market has finally caught up with this usually robust community. Now let's go ahead and look at the same numbers, but this time we're going to look straight back just in preceding months. So seasonal influences will definitely play a part in this one. It's also a great way to sort of anticipate what trends we might be seeing, and also to identify things that are changing. And whenever you see things that are changing in relation to what they did the year before, it's always a good idea to keep an eye on that, because it usually means we're in a transitional market, which indicates a change. Now, for this month, for this month we saw, when compared to last month, between June and July, we actually saw a decrease in inventory. So that's actually pretty good news. When we look at the number of homes listed, about the same. We've had a pretty strong number of homes being listed, really since March, and that trend has really just continued. Now, when compared just to last month, between June and July, the inventory actually went down 1.3%. Now, that represented just a 2-home difference. So basically, we have 2 fewer homes on the market in the month of July than we did in June. Now, the number of homes that were listed was up 1.5%. That's really just 1 more home listed than in the month previous. So really a very steady number of homes being listed month to month. And sales, unfortunately, were down 25.7%. That's 9 fewer homes sold in the month of July versus the month of June. Now, that's a little bit of a surprise. Normally, I would have expected sales to be up a little bit more. Now, you can see that but from June to July last year, we also saw a dip in the number of homes sold. So given last year, we're on par. But we know we started to get what I thought was a little bit more of a robust season this year. If you compare May to May of last year, you can see sales are up from then. June was on par. We were starting to see what I thought might be a good trend of increased sales. But then here in July, things started to drop off a little bit. So instead of getting more of an extended season, so the season sort of came to us a little bit earlier and left at about the same time it did last year. So we got a little bit more of a selling season for sellers out there, but not what I was hoping for. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at home prices. And this is, again, just looking back over previous years. And you can see very just steady increases since 2001, with the average home price just going up and up and up. We finally see, and we've seen this in the last few months, it's been irregular. We haven't seen steady drops every month. But this particular month, we've seen a drop in the average home price. In fact, compared to the same time last year, the average home price in Los Gatos is down 6.9%. In dollar value, that's $111,106. Now, the average home price was $1,492,652. The median price came in at $1,347,500. That's about on par with usual performance as far as where the distribution is. It just means that there were more homes huddled sort of below the average price than above. So we did have some houses at the high end that sort of brought up the average. The median was actually down 19.3% when compared to the same time last year. Now, the highest priced single-family residence in Los Gatos sold for $3,050,000. Now, that was at 99 Foster Lane in Los Gatos, and its list price, what it was trying to get sold for, was $3.3 million. So it did have to take a drop in its price. The days on market for that home was 65, so that's fairly respectable. Now, the lowest priced single-family home in Los Gatos was on Mary Alice Drive in Los Gatos, and that sold for $690,000. The list price was $689,000, so it actually sold for $1,000 over asking price, but that sold in just 7 days. So that was a pretty quick transaction. Now, the average price per square foot is at $694.23, up from last month's average price per square foot of $675. Excuse me. So what we're basically seeing here is we're having a month where there were fewer higher-end homes, but the higher-end homes that did sell were at a pretty good price point. In this case, the most expensive being over $3 million. And the average days on market for everything was 73 days. Now, we'll go ahead and look at home prices just over previous months now instead of focusing just on year-to-year statistics. Again, we're not seeing fantastic performance here. We'll take a look at this and see if it gives us any insights into what we can expect in the coming months. If you look just sort of at our end of the scale here on the right, you can see a pretty steady decrease. We had a big drop in May, and overall, if you average everything since April, it's been a steady decline, which is a little bit of a surprise, because if you look at the same time last year, we actually had pretty much steady increases in average price all the way up until August, and then in September things dropped pretty dramatically, but then it had a continuing increase in October. So I'm not real sure how to explain this particular part of the market to you. It may be that we're just seeing, some odd numbers here, just like we did last year, say in September, and perhaps next month we'll see some increases. This wouldn't be the first time this has happened. In the last few months, we've had a couple of months where one month the average price was up compared to the same time last year, and then a month following it was down, and then a month following when it was up again. So there's been a little variation here. A lot of that could have to do with the fact that the sampling of homes here in this particular market is relatively small. I don't think sellers need to get particularly concerned here about, I need to drop my house this price by this percentage this month. Your examination of your local market, the market analysis your agent will do for you, will give you some better information. But as a general guideline, general trends of what we're seeing over the last few months, I'd have to say that we're in a position where home prices are not growing as we've seen earlier in this year and also late last year. Now, what can we expect coming up? Is there anything we can extract from this to give us an idea of where we might be going? Well, if we look at July of last year, we saw that the following month, August, we saw an increase. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if we saw the same thing, but since the trend is so different, from May to June, we saw a decrease, but then we saw steady increases after that. Assuming this is just a glitch for the month and that this drop is not something that's indicating a long-term trend, we'd expect to see either flat or increased performance, and then that should lead us into all the way to October, if we could use last year as a model, continuing to see some sort of price growth and then a drop in November, which is the November-December time from the winter time frame is usually pretty normal for a bit of a drop in average price. Now, the average home price, as I said, was $1,492,652. The price change from June to July of 2008 was dropping a decrease of 11.2%. The median price change was down 7.1%, and the total number of homes sold was 26. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at what we had for the number of days it took to get a home sold in Los Gatos. Again, we're looking at year-to-year sales. So from July of 2007 compared to July of 2008, we actually are selling homes. It's taking us 10 days longer to get a home sold this year than it did last year. So that's a percentage change of about 15.9%. Now, the lowest days on market in July of 2008 was just 4 days to get a home sold. The longest days on market, 534 days. And clearly, in that case, there was a pricing problem that finally worked itself out and got the home sold. But let's sort of lay it out. Now, the home sold before the home was listed in the MLS. There were no homes this month, in the month of July, where that was the case. Homes on the market for 1 to 7 days. There were 7 homes in that category. On the market 8 to 30 days, 7 homes. On the market 31 to 90 days, 7 homes. On the market 90 or more days, 5 homes fell into that category. That gives us 53% of homes sold in 30 days or less in Los Gatos. So much of that is going to have to do with the influence of your real estate person that you've chosen to get your home marketed. They're the folks that are helping you pick the right price. They're the folks doing the marketing, and the more attention you get, the higher probability you're having of getting your home sold. So make sure and choose wisely in the case of picking your real estate professional. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at days to sell over previous months. Things have been pretty steady. We saw a pretty dramatic increase, though, most recently. From May to June, things really jumped up. Now, granted, remember, these numbers are being skewed by a couple of homes that sold in just insane amounts of time. As we said, 534 days. And remember that 53% of the homes sold in less than 30 days. So while in some cases that is the honest average number of days it took to get a home sold, for the average person out there trying to get their home sold in Los Gatos, these numbers are a little bit on the pessimistic side. Now, the days to sell increased by 1.4%. That's only 1 day increase, so nothing to get too excited about. Last month, we had almost an identical situation where we had a couple of homes that had been on the market for several hundred days, and that was what dragged that number up artificially. Once we do the math and sort of massage out the worst case numbers, we end up with numbers closer to more like 50, 48 days on the market. So don't let these short-term numbers throw you off. If you were to put your market on the home right now, I'd feel very comfortable telling you could get your home sold probably in about 30 to 40 days tops. All right, now let's wrap it up with just the usual information. If you have any ideas, suggestions, observations, anything you'd like to share with me, I'd love for you to share them with me. There's a variety of ways to get in touch with me. Now, the first way to track me down and to listen to my other presentations on real estate markets in different cities, and also to listen to my weekly podcast, you can find all that at www.soldbyrobert.com. If you'd like to email me with anything, please feel free to do that at robert@soldbyrobert.com. If you prefer to give me a phone call, please feel free to dial 408-852-0525. And if you prefer to do a little instant messaging, I am on AOL Instant Messenger, Google Talk, and Yahoo IM with the screen name The Rebel Broker. Finally, if you want to use Skype, you can find me there just by searching Rebel Broker. And, of course, referrals are always appreciated. If you or anyone you know is interested in buying or selling real estate anywhere in Silicon Valley, please feel free to get in touch. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to what I have to say on these topics, and I look forward to talking to you next time. Thank you.